Hey there, this is Denise Wakeman, your online visibility mentor. You can find me on the web at denisewakeman.com. And today, the tables are turned. I have with me a very special guest, Derek Halpern. And he shows people how to turn web traffic into leads and sales. And if you don't have traffic, he'll show you how to get that too. So Derek contacted me to see if I would be willing to do a blog review with him, where he would review my blog instead of me doing it the other way around with my clients. And so since I've seen what he's done for other people, I wanted his expertise too turned on my blog. I know there's probably a few missed opportunities right now on my blog. And if I can get more leads and sales, hey, I'm all for that. So thank you, Derek, so much for spending some time with me today.
Hey, Denise, I'm really glad that you're having me here. And I just want to quickly say one thing for everyone who's going to be listening to this. On denisewakeman.com, you have a lot of opportunities that a lot of bloggers have those same opportunities. So even though we're going to be talking about your site here and how you could actually improve your lead generation and sales generation ability, a lot of this stuff applies to almost every niche, really. And I'm not going to say it's a magic bullet or anything like that, because that would be irresponsible. But I will say right from the get-go, I have not found a niche or website topic or business type where this advice has not yet worked. So I want everyone to be paying close attention, get ready to take some notes, and this is going to be some good stuff. Are you ready, Denise?
I'm ready. Just tell me where to point and click.
Cool. All right. So let's just start right at the top, right at your home page. Love your header here. It's very personable, and you very clearly say what your site's all about, which is like a first tip for people, is you want people to pass what I call the header removal test. And the header removal test, quite simply, is when you remove your site name and your tagline, can people figure out what your site's all about without scrolling below the fold? And you do that really well. You have home, online visibility tips, videos, business blogging 101, about, contact, etc. That's really good stuff. Now, here's where an improvement opportunity comes in. Take a look at online visibility tips.
Okay.
There's a drop-down where you have business branding, internet marketing, marketing trends, etc. That's all links to category pages, right?
That's correct.
Now, you could do one step further. Click on business branding.
Okay.
Instead of showing a listing of your categories and your posts like you currently have,
right,
you could take the resource page approach.
Now, resource page. Okay.
The resource page approach is where instead of just showing your articles like this, you show just a link to your articles, right? And then you add some content above your links of your articles that kind of give people an introduction to what you're talking about. Now, to show you what I mean by this, it's always good to have examples.
Yes.
So why don't you pop over to socialtriggers.com for a second.
Okay. And Social Triggers is your site, correct?
Yep.
Make sure everybody knows that, socialtriggers.com.
Yep. And if you see on the sidebar, building an email list 101, click on that for a second.
Okay, so here, building an email list.
Yep, click on that. Do you see how this site is laid out? There's some introductory content. Then as you get a little bit lower, you have links to articles, and then an opt-in form.
Okay, so here's the links that you're talking about. And these are blog posts that you've written, correct?
Exactly. Now, on your site, you're linking to your category page. Now, I know you're using a theme framework, Genesis. I use Thesis, but Genesis, I think, has this ability too, where you can add a description above your categories and have that show up.
Oh, okay.
I think Genesis has that ability, and to do that, it's when you go into the WordPress backend, there's a categories page. I know Thesis has this. I think Genesis might have it too. But
okay, I'll take a look.
There's a category page where you can add content above those categories without a problem.
Okay.
And you want to add some custom content above it, like, this is business branding. You could have Business Branding 101 as like the headline, then below it you can have some introductory content about business branding, and then you can have an opt-in form, and then you can have just a list of your links of articles, kind of like I have a listing, whereas I have text between because I'm using a page, not a category page.
Okay.
But if you actually, is a better example. Take a look at copyblogger.com for a second.
Copyblogger. Okay, let me go over there. One of my favorite blogs.
Yeah, it's a good site. Click on copywriting in the top left once it loads.
Okay, copywriting. Okay, so this is what another sample of what you're talking about.
Exactly. So what you have is, copywriting 101, introductory content. Then you could have instead of where he says 10 steps to effective copywriting, you could have something like my latest posts about business branding, and then just have a listing of link articles just like that. Okay. And I know that's possible to do with WordPress by code without you having to do any work once you set it up. Mm-hmm. So that'll be the first tip, is turn those category pages into a resource page with an opt-in form. Like, look, and you can add the opt-in form at the bottom, the opt-in form at the top, and you turn those pages into lead generation pages, and it's going to be great.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I get that, and in a way that what you're pointing out is another lead generation opportunity, having that opt-in box right there on the resource page.
Exactly. That's another way to generate more leads, and it's all about when people visit your site, they're more likely to visit your single post pages first, your content pages, if you will. Mm-hmm. The reason why that is because people get there by social media, search engines, or links, right? So your most popular are usually your content pages. Now, when they get to your content page, after they're done reading their article, or if they don't read your article, they usually look for what they can do next. They can either hit the back button, or they might see something like online visibility tips, and they might put their mouse over there and see the drop down. Mm-hmm. So they're going to look for what they can do next. When they make that decision of what they want to do next, they click a link, they're going to another page. They're no longer cold traffic. They're now a little bit warmer than cold traffic, which is why I suggest when you have people hit your site, they're cold traffic, but when you get them to click somewhere else, they're a little bit warmer. Mm-hmm. And when they're warmer, that means you can be more aggressive about asking for an email because they're warm traffic now. They're not cold.
I see.
So
excellent
it's all
point.
about asking for the opt-in or asking for the lead right when people are warming up to you as a website.
Okay, now I know I've heard you talk about this. I read your blogs. So I know you write about this as well. So can you tell me, for the audience here, for my understanding is that for you it's all about getting the opt-in.
Yes.
So can you explain why that's your driving force here?
Yes. So social media is great, but I don't like to grow my I like social media followings are nice. Social medias are a great way to drive traffic, but you want the email because you own the email. Mm-hmm. Emails, unless your email provider goes bankrupt and you lose all your emails, which I doubt is going to happen. But emails give you the power to communicate with your fan base and your customers and your audience at your will. As in, they subscribe and then you can talk to them when you want to talk to them. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're not getting the lead and you're relying on people to check their RSS feed, or they have to check you remember to come back to your home page or whatever, they're kind of communicating with you when they choose that they're in communication mode. But when you get the email, you actually have the right to go ahead and communicate with them when you want to communicate with them. So it's about giving you the power to communicate when you want to communicate. Make sense?
Yes. Well, there's two things you own: your email list and your virtual real estate, your blog, your site, your blog, versus the social networking sites that you're at their whim.
Exactly. Google notoriously slapped a bunch of people in a few years ago, where You could lose your search engine rankings. You could lose your AdWords. You could lose all that stuff. At the end of the day, you very rarely lose your email address, email list, and you're not going to lose your domain name.
Right,
So
and you should be backing up your email anyway, your email list anyway.
Exactly. So getting the email is all about communicating on your, on your terms, and it's kind of funny because a lot of people, I know they ask me this question. They're like, Derek, how do I get more blog comments, or how do I get more social media shares? And I'm always laughing. I was like, well, if you focus on building an email list and you got 10,000 people on that email list, you don't have to try to get comments. It just happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly. So build the email list. You'll have interaction. You'll have all that stuff. And that's why getting the email is so important.
Okay. Excellent.
So that's the first tip, is make those little category pages into resource pages. One more visibility tip is on online visibility. Until you hover over it, you don't know that that's a drop-down.
Okay.
There's no way to decide that that's a drop-down until you hover. You know, you don't know what people could drop down there, and that's actually kind of bad because people don't know that there's a drop-down. So what you can do is you can have a little down arrow.
Oh, okay.
Next to online visibility tips, down arrow. That way people know that it's a drop-down. You want to really signify and let people just alert them to the fact that that's a drop-down. Because without that, they might not realize it.
Okay, well, that's a great tip. Thank you.
Cool. So that's the first tip, is the building those resource pages. Now, for anyone who's listening, you don't have to code this into category pages. You can actually do what I did on Social Triggers and just create a separate WordPress page, put some introductory content, and opt-in form, and then link to some articles. You can do it that way, too. That's the way I do it. It's easier if you don't have the coding savvy to do it.
Right, right. Well, I have a tech team.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, some of your other readers might not be at that point yet. So if they don't want to go that route. Let's go to the next tip. We talked about lead generation resource pages. Let's take a look at your About page.
Okay, this is where I know I need some help.
Yep. So I think your About page is great. You got a nice little welcome video of yourself. It's very personable. But if you're like me, you'll find that a lot of your traffic hits your About page. Am I right?
Yes.
I think you need to get some opt-in forms on this About page. There's no opt-in form on this page. I think you need to put an opt-in form right below the video.
Okay. Now, what about in the sidebar here? That doesn't count?
Yeah, so that's good. So here's how it works. When people visit your page, they click About, they want to learn about you. Anything else, you know, they're going there with the expectation to learn about you and your site and how you can help them.
Right.
Anything else is a distraction.
Okay.
So I would even go so far as eliminating the sidebar here.
Oh, okay.
Make it all about you, or not necessarily about you, but how you can help people, which you do. You have online visibility action plan, etc.
Right.
Opt-in form below the video. Then maybe scroll a little bit down. I think you need to get some headings here, some H3 tags to break up these long paragraphs of text.
Okay.
Like maybe the first part is about these. Instead of making, say, about Denise Wakeman, you could make that more of like a promise, like learn how to boost online visibility with Denise Wakeman or something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay, that makes sense.
Turn that into a promise, have the video opt-in form, then scroll a little bit. You could then add some subheadings throughout this article, and then add another opt-in form later in the page. I actually use a strict formula for my About page. And it usually starts off with introductory content, opt-in form, testimonials, opt-in form, then all about me, opt-in form. And I guess to show you an example, if you want to go back to Social Triggers and click my About, you have to go to that page a second.
Okay.
Go back to the home page and click About in the top left and the top right.
Got it.
See how I have a little bit of introductory content, then a little bold heading, then a promise, then an opt-in form. You have a video. You could just use the video in the opt-in form. Then I have what other people are saying, some testimonials.
Right.
Have you signed up for updates yet? Then an opt-in form. Then I have About Me and talk about how that applies to people. And then another opt-in form. Bottom. And I got some
Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3 opt-in forms on your About page.
Exactly. Now, you could do 2. I know Copyblogger uses 2. I use 3. Some people use 2. I think 2 is a good way. 3 is a good way, too.
Okay, and you've removed the sidebar here.
Yeah, I got rid of the sidebar. This
Okay.
About page generates a ton of emails for me, ton of leads.
Right. Okay. Well, I can see how the sidebar then becomes a distraction from the actual content.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's
Great.
the next tip. We first talked about resource pages. Next tip is optimizing the About page and turning that About page into a lead generation machine, because if you don't do that, you're going to be losing out on emails that you rightfully deserve.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Next tip. Let's go back to the home page again.
Okay.
Now, your sidebars are very, very busy.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't like busy sidebars because it distracts people from your overall goal. I mean, at the end of the day, you want more email addresses because you know that that's the right way to do this, right? You want
right.
So you have a lot of social media icons. I don't know if I would promote all of those.
Okay, and what's your thinking behind that?
Yeah, so my thinking is this. If you give, there's a study by Sheena Iyengar done called the Jam Experiment, where she had a test where she ran 2 different jam displays. One jam display with 24 jams, another jam display with 6 jams. She found that the 24 jam display got more people to stop by and look at the jam display. She found the jam display with 6 jams had less people stop by, but converted something like 1,000% more sales.
Really?
Yeah, so I use that whole concept of less is more for conversions, because you know how analysis paralysis works, where if you give people too many options, they don't decide on any options and choose no options instead.
Right.
So with me, for example, I tend to only promote my Twitter and Facebook. I might start promoting Google Plus, though, because Google Plus is really good for our audience. It's not good for every audience right now, but it's good for us.
Yeah.
A lot of the tech-savvy people are using it. I know Copyblogger uses, he only promotes his Facebook and Twitter following in the sidebar. I promote Twitter, Facebook. I actually really only do Twitter and my email list. I tend to not even like the social media, because if you're going to work your, if you're going to work your butt off to get all this traffic to your site, why send them anywhere other than your email list? That's what you want, right?
Oh, that's a very good point. Yep.
So I think Twitter is good. I minimize it. I think you should have that accessible, though. Like, I know you have contact Denise, you have ask Denise, share your story, submit a guest post. You could maybe work that into your About page. There's ways to work it in where you could promote it in case people really want to find you on those networks.
Right.
But I wouldn't make that so front and center like you have now.
Okay.
So lose that.
Okay.
Now, boost your visibility. Request a free strategy session now. Love that. I love it for one reason, because it's sending people and converting people into a potential lead or sale. The one thing I'd be careful of, and I learned this on Social Triggers, I know we saw before those things in the sidebar, those nice little images I have designed saying
right.
email list. I did some click testing and some eye tracking, and I noticed that some people were just skipping over that because it looked like advertisements. I think boost your visibility might look like an advertisement. It might not necessarily be directly linked to the fact that you're doing this call, Maybe
right.
you figure out a way to have an image there, but maybe make sure people realize that it's a strategy session with Denise Wakeman, not just some ad.
Okay. So maybe just add my name, like get a strategy session with Denise.
Strategy session with Denise Wakeman now. Maybe just get your name in there. That way people know it's you and not just some ad.
Right. Oh, good point. Thank you.
All right. I think promoting your Google Plus following is good. The one thing I would be concerned with is you have 1,000 people circled you, and that's good and everything, but that might not be. It might have a negative connotation that, like, oh well, why do only 1,000 people circle you? Obviously, Google Plus is new, but I'm not sitting here. You know me. I mean, you know all about generating leads and sales and getting clients. You know little things like, oh, there's only 1,000 people might be a turnoff for some people. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm no Maury Smith, but, you know.
Exactly. So if the number isn't overwhelming, don't show the number at all. Like at Social Triggers, I got like 10,000 people on my list. You can't see that anywhere on my site. And the reason why I don't show it anywhere on my site is because it's only 10,000 people. You know, there's people out there with 100,000 people. I don't want people coming there and seeing like, oh, this guy's only got 10,000. That ain't nothing. So I just choose to not show a number at all.
Right. Okay.
But the number I do show on my site is my comment counts. And the reason why I do that is because I tend to have high engagement on everything. And 100 comments on a post, that's a little overwhelming. So I make sure to over-promote the fact that I have 100 comments, but I under-promote the fact that there's 10K people on my list.
Right. Okay.
So only show numbers. This is the key takeaway here. You can show numbers for this sort of stuff, and that's okay. But if the number isn't impressive, don't show it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If the number is impressive, make a big deal about it. That's a key takeaway here. If the number isn't impressive, try to obscure the fact that there's a number at all. If the number is impressive, make sure everybody can see that number.
I guess impressive is in the eye of the beholder, too.
Exactly. So I think 1,000 circles is good. You know, the fact that Google Plus is a good network. Mm-hmm. But people might not realize, your audience might not realize that 1,000 is good right now. You know what I mean? They might think like, oh, only 979 people. You know what I mean? Right.
I see what you're saying.
They might not realize that's a good number just yet. But I mean, you're one of the most well-respected people in the blog world right now. I mean, I've seen you. You've been doing this forever. We want to make sure that every little piece of communication shows the fact that you know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And your loyal readers will know that you're the real deal, and they know that you're one of the smartest people on the internet right now with regards to blogging and visibility. But someone who might not have heard of you before, these are all little flags that might turn off a new visitor. Right.
I can see that, sure.
Exactly.
It's easy to lose sight of this stuff when you're in it for a very long time.
Yeah, it's like those little things, and it's just like, remember, your loyal audience will always love you, and they're always going to trust you, and they know that you give valuable advice. Mm-hmm. But if you want to grow your lead base, it's not about just impressing your loyal audience. It's about impressing those random people that visit your site. And this is how you could kind of create that experience. I mean, you know how Apple works. When you buy an Apple product and you open up your laptop, they have it set up where you slide off the top part of the laptop, and then there's the laptop, like on a pedestal almost. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure that you kind of have that experience on your site, and that kind of helps you tailor that experience.
Right. Well, then probably in this case, just leaving the G+ button there would be enough.
Exactly.
Okay.
Showing just the button. I like what Copyblogger does, where he has a Twitter button and then a wide Facebook button. Have you ever seen that?
I'm going over there here. Okay, this is their homepage.
Yep. You see how they got the wide face? I think you'll be beneficial with using wide buttons like that. Maybe pick your Twitter button, a Google Plus button, and a Facebook button, and you can put the LinkedIn and other stuff on an interior page.
Right, okay.
The wide buttons work because the way usability works, when you have people, your sidebar has a very top-down flow, right? Mm-hmm. When you change that flow from left to right with those social media buttons, it changes the ways people's eyes work, from going from top down to left right. Mm-hmm. So you want to maintain the top down flow, which is why I think the wider buttons will work for you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yep. Now let's bring this back to leads and sales. You've got the sidebar set up. You've got the free updates and gift. Then you've got the boost your visibility for a request a free strategy session. You want to minimize the amount of social media icons. That way you don't distract people. I think the next step is you've got the popular posts. I don't think category topics and archives are beneficial.
Okay.
And the reason why I think this is true is I think if you look through your click tracking, you'll find that almost, I mean, I don't think anyone is using those. I don't think anyone's clicking on that stuff.
Probably not at this point anymore.
Yeah, and if no one's clicking on it, don't even bother showing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So get rid of those two. So that's about it. I think we minimized the amount of distraction for the sidebar. We talked about how you could potentially boost your visibility seem less like an ad and more show off the fact that, yeah, this is a strategy session with the Denise Wakeman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want to really you don't want to under-promote things that aren't beneficial, but the fact that this is a session with you, you want to make sure they know that.
Right.
Cool. So we talked about the sidebar. Let's talk about your single post pages.
Okay.
On the top link, writing blog post that captivate.
Okay, let me just click through to that. This is a long one.
Yeah, it's a great post. Long posts are awesome.
Oh, it's an interview, so yeah. Okay.
All right. So you've got the "you are here." You've got the breadcrumb navigation. Then you've got the writing blog post that captivate. Then you've got the text. Scroll down to the bottom of the post.
Okay.
All right, so check this. If people made it this far down your site, what would you say about that person?
That they are committed.
Yes. What better time to ask them for an email? You've got welcome back. If you enjoyed this post, sign up for email updates and get a free gift, right?
Right.
Instead of having that link, just make it a form.
Make it a form. Mm-hmm.
Put the form right there. Make it easy. Make people so they don't have to click. Make the form be apparent. And I would even put the form above the print button and the like button.
Okay. Yeah, this is a plug-in, so it goes where it goes. So I'd have to look at a different way to do this.
Yeah, so there's you could probably get rid of that plugin. I mean, this could be coded into, you're using Genesis, and if you use Thesis, it works too. You can use an after content hook that'll hook the form into place. And you have a tech team, they'll be able to figure that out 5 seconds. It's a really easy thing to do.
Okay, it's called after content hook. Okay, yeah, I don't do the techie stuff.
I don't know what the exact hook is called, but I know what Thesis is like hook after content or something like that.
Okay.
And with Genesis, I'm sure they have that too. You know, they've got a lot of hooks where you can hook stuff in.
Yeah.
So you can do the after content hook. You want to put a form at the bottom because, as you said, if they made it that far down, they're committed. Might as well ask them while they're hot. You know.
Right.
Now let's.
Now, can I ask you a quick question about this? You know, I'm always experimenting, and I watch what other people are doing. Do you think it's better to have the opt-in at the bottom of the post or at the top of the post? Because I've seen it in both places.
Okay. Opt-in at the top of the post will get more visibility, and it will convert higher, percentage-wise. I think it works. But the way your site is currently structured, you have an opt-in above the fold already with the free updates and gift in the sidebar. So I think that should satisfy your above the fold opt-in.
Okay.
That I don't think you need it above the post.
Okay.
I think above the post will convert because it's it's in your face. I mean, that was always the thing, but is that you could test it. Test it is the best deal there.
Yeah. I always feel like it's like, why would somebody sign up until after they've read it to know if they want to sign up?
Exactly. What happens is if you have the opt-in above the post, you might increase email gathering, but I don't know if it's going to be the types of emails you want. Like if you have a big promise above your post saying, oh, download this free ebook, they might be just getting it to download the free ebook, and that might not be a hot lead. You know, you don't want just any kind of leads. You want hot leads. Exactly. So I think after the post is beneficial, and you've also got the sidebar thing at the top there that works great. Right.
Okay.
Here's one more thing. Actually, go to the top of the page. I forgot to mention this. You have that nice little opt-in form above the fold called free updates and gift. You might want to be. What's the gift?
It's an ebook. I can't remember what I have up there right now.
You want to experiment with that headline free updates and gift. You could say, download ebook now. You could say free updates and get a free ebook too. You want to test those wording to be a little bit more specific. But here's one thing you want to do, and I've been preaching this for a while. Underneath, send me the tips. Have a short little testimonial. I've got on my page called "I'm Totally Loving Social Triggers, Chris Brogan." If you get a testimonial underneath that button, it increases people who click the button.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people have commented on me, especially if you have people who are, a lot of people, so I'm sure you could get a nice testimonial. You could use a big name person or just a regular person. I haven't seen any testing that suggests that big name is better. I use the big name person, and the reason why I do that is because a lot of people have emailed me and said, "Oh man, how do you know Chris Brogan?"
Right.
So they're like, they subscribe to my list because they see Chris Brogan going to bat for me. He goes, "How do you know him?" I said, "Oh, well, I've been friends with him for a while." You'll see that on the homepage.
Right. I just want to go here and look at this. Okay. So this is like in your face on your homepage, the sign up.
I'll talk about that in a second, but scroll to the sidebar one for a second.
Down here. Okay.
Go below, you see how it says get up there? I have a little testimonial below that too.
Yep. Right here.
Bam. Same exact testimonial.
Okay. Perfect. Nice. That looks good.
Yeah, so you want to do something like that too. Now, let me talk about that big feature box at the top of my page for a second. The reason why I add that is this. That's only on the home page, and that's it. It's nowhere else. Think about this. We already agreed that most people hit your content pages first. The next thing they usually click is your About page or your home page.
Right.
We already talked about turning your About page into a lead generation page because if they're getting to your About page, that's usually the second page they hit, which means they're a little bit warmer than a cold prospect.
Right.
Which is why you can be more aggressive. The same applies for your home page. The people who hit your home page are people who are interested in what you offer, but they're you might have your loyal visitors hitting it too, but generally your loyal visitors are on your email list, not just going to your homepage all the time. So if they're going to your homepage, it's the same deal. They're going from a content page to your homepage, which means they're a warmer prospect, which is why I blast them with the feature box there. Because they're already a warm prospect, and it's like, all right, let me just hit them with a big call to action, knowing that they're potentially warm, and then convert. That feature box converts between 7 and 11%.
Okay, well, that's impressive. Feature box. Yep. Okay, feature box on homepage. Like that.
Yeah, and it's not. And the really cool part is it's not as obnoxious as a pop-up.
Right.
And pop-ups are great too. Don't get me wrong. I like pop-ups.
No, they work, but
they work. I personally will never use them because I would hate to load up my site and get blasted with my own pop-up. That's just me being annoyed by pop-ups.
Right.
Like I said, they work. So if you want to use pop-ups, you can use pop-ups. I have no hate for pop-ups. I prefer the feature box. It converts pretty high, and it's not as obnoxious.
Yeah. I don't use pop-ups, but they also don't irritate me. So.
Yeah. So that would be the next step. We talked about putting a little testimonial under the button. We talked about a feature box. We talked about putting a form at the bottom of your post.
Right.
Now, let's take a look a little further.
Yeah.
We talked about those resource pages are great. Now, here's the deal with the resource pages. When you start writing posts and you get those pages set up where you have the content opt-in form and a listing of your posts, you want to make sure you link to those resource pages from within your content. And the reason why is very simple. If people are visiting your content pages first, they often click the links in your content, right?
Right.
Might as well send them to a resource page because it's a little bit more aggressive and they'll be able to learn more about that particular topic. But it's a good way to get people clicking around your site and getting them to turn into emails. And here's the best part. When you link your resource pages, those resource pages can earn rankings because you're probably being scraped by all these different scraper blogs and all that stuff.
Right.
And if you're linking them, you're going to be getting all these links to those resource pages. And you could potentially rank higher because you're just building up better internal linking on your site.
Excellent. Okay. Now, would you suggest putting links to those resource pages in the sidebar?
Yes. So now, I personally prefer to link them in the sidebar because I don't have them in my top navigation like you do.
Right.
But I think you could probably experiment with linking a few of them in the sidebar and just testing.
Right. Okay.
One note, I would get rid of the search bar, by the way.
Oh, really?
I mean, once you have resource pages set up in a way that highlights all your previous content, that people won't need to search.
Okay.
I don't like search because it takes up a lot of space and very few people actually use it.
Okay. I probably am the one that uses it the most when I'm like, when did I write that? Where's that article I wrote? You know.
Oh, really? So if that's the case, I actually search my own site too. I just tend to use Google because Google search is better
right.
than the WordPress built-in search. And what you do is you just, type in your search term and then type in URL : DeniseWakeman.com.
Oh, good trick there. Okay.
That's how I search my own site. I just go to Google, type in my phrase, in URL, socialtriggers.com, and it'll search my site for that.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's a good tip.
Yep. All right, so we talked about the testimonial opt-in form. Let's take a look now at, you're using an RSS feed. That's good. Your footer. Go to your footer of your page.
Not much there.
Exactly. Think about this. People read the post, you're asking for an opt-in. Then you have your comments, your tweets, etc. If they make it down here, they're obviously a hot prospect. Right?
Exactly.
Might as well put some information there. Put some navigation, or put an opt-in form, put a description, put your bio. I prefer to put my personal bio instead of in the sidebar like you have it. I put it in my footer. And I noticed that if you look at my site and go to my footer for a second.
Okay, hang on. Okay, yep.
So get to the footer, you'll see that I got the updates, it's free, and then the About Derek Halpern. Now the updates there, it converts maybe, it doesn't convert high, but it gets some emails. And if you look at the About Derek Halpern where I have to click here, that report here link, that gets 3% of everyone who hits my homepage clicks that here link.
Wow.
3%. Think about that. This is all the way at the bottom of the page.
Right.
But 3% of the people visiting the homepage make it all the way down here and click that link. So with you can kind of have that same thing. You could have, I don't think that maybe you want to make it look exactly like mine because you want this to be your own design, obviously.
Right.
You want to put something there that's other than copyright, return to top of page. Put
right.
in there that's a little bit more persuasive.
Right, right. Oh, good point. Good tip.
Cool. Now, so we talked about resource pages, interlinking those resource pages for rankings. We talked about turning those pages into lead generation pages. We talked about why these leads even matter. I want to give you a tip that I wrote a blog post about, and I think this is one of the best tips that anyone who is selling information products, services, or anything like that, or selling anything really, this is the best tip that you can do. When people subscribe to your email list, they get a welcome email, right?
That's correct.
In that welcome email, I say something along the lines of, like, if someone goes to my site, gives me their email, the first message they get is like, hey, thanks for signing up. Each week you're going to learn how to turn traffic into leads and sales. If you're not getting traffic, you're going to learn how to get more of that too. But first, before we get into any of that, I want you to do two things. Thing one, reply to this email and tell me what you're struggling with right now. Even if it's something small, just tell me what you're struggling with. That question in my welcome email gets a ton of people to reply.
Fantastic.
Now, let me tell you, now you know why this, you're awesome at generating traffic, leads, and clients and all that. You obviously know why that question is so powerful, right? Because
go ahead.
Once I ask that question and they respond and tell me what they're struggling with, I then know what I could write content about. I then know what products I can create. If I have a product that satisfies their need, I could then say, hey, look, I got a product about that, but if you don't want to buy a product just yet, you can check out this post that I wrote. You can see what people are all about and what they're looking for, and it's like free market research without sending people a survey.
Right. It's a great survey tool.
Exactly. I think it's great, and then I even take it a step further where I get everyone who replies to that email, I could then tag that email with a custom field in Aweber. So if they say, hey, I'm struggling with getting traffic, I could then go tag their email with needs help with traffic. And then I can have segments of my email list knowing what. So the segments help me know, like, all right, well, 50% of my list needs more traffic. What does that mean? Obviously, I should write more posts about traffic or create a product about traffic, because that's what everyone wants.
Right.
It's a good way to just see what's going on with your list.
Excellent. That's an excellent tip, because I think that very often, in my experience, when I subscribe to somebody's blog by email, because I prefer email over RSS, I don't look at my RSS feeds that often, but, there's no follow-up.
Yep.
There's no offer, there's no gift, there's no nothing,
Exactly.
Just you're subscribed. Okay. It's the system email.
Exactly. And, I mean, you've got products, you've got services. That follow-up is going to be great for you. The one thing I want to warn everyone about when you use that follow-up message, it can be dangerous, because if you're getting people to reply to you and you don't reply back, they feel slighted.
Yes.
So if you're going to use that, you're going to have to spend some time replying to emails. And let me tell you, it is extremely worth it. I mean, my list I've built up over the last few months, I get open rates that range from 50 to 75%. I have high open rates, and I think part of the reason why I have such high open rates is because I took a second, and every person who responds to my email or whatever, I reply personally to them.
Right. If you don't mind sharing, what kind of percentage of response do you get to that question? Like, how many people actually reply with their big struggle?
That ranges depending on how the traffic is hitting my site. But, for example, when people come visit my site after this interview and they subscribe, I imagine that response rate, since we talked about it, will be 50 to 60%.
Right.
Because
okay.
I'm basically telling everyone right now that if you go to my site, I reply to you personally, and everyone likes to have personal advice given to them, But
yes.
Now we're talking about cold traffic. The reply rate ranges from anywhere from 10 to 40%.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of stinks because, I'm getting 100 new emails a day over here, and I'm getting 30 emails that I have to reply to, and it takes some time, but you know what? That's the type of care. When someone asks you a question and you just respond, what ends up happening is if you look at my site, I get 100 comments on my blog posts. Why do I get 100 comments? Because I was so personable with everyone who signed up.
Well, you're building a relationship with them, and then when you have something that you want to promote, whether it's your own or you're in a joint venture with a colleague, the response is going to be better.
Exactly, because you're just building that relationship, and I mean, you can't outsource relationship building. I mean, you can't fake this stuff. You got to really want to connect with your readers.
Right.
And I truly love getting these emails. I mean, I wake up every day. It takes me 2 hours a day. It's very time consuming. Sometimes I don't do it for a few days, and I'll just do it in 6 hours or whatever. But let me tell you, I know exactly who's on my list. I know their names. I know what they're struggling with. I know. So I know their names. I know what they're struggling with, and I can tell you straight off the bat that I know what products I need to create to make some money.
Right. Exactly.
Great stuff. And I mean that really basically concludes my my optimization tips. I don't want to give a million things for you to do. I mean, we talked about a lot of good stuff that you can do here. I mean, it's going to take some time to implement, but if you do implement this stuff, and the people who are listening, if you figure out how you can apply this to your site, you're going to see some good results.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you gave some really, really good, solid suggestions here, and I'm going to, I was even taking notes, even though this is being recorded. So, and I'll probably get it transcribed, too, because I like to be able to study things. No, I think there's some really, really solid suggestions here, and, I know what I have to do is carve out the time, put it together, have my tech people do the things they can do, me do the things I need to do, and, put it into action, because I think it'll make a big difference. And Derek, I really, really appreciate, the expertise you've offered, and for every single person watching this video and listening to this, you need to go over to socialtriggers.com and subscribe, because Derek's stuff is great. It's great. You'll learn a lot. So do that.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I mean, I really do appreciate that you enjoy the content. I mean, I don't update, some blogs update every day of the week. I update a couple times a month, but when I do update, I make sure that it's all actionable stuff like this like this interview here.
Right, and I really appreciate the videos that you've started doing as well. They're very helpful too. So
cool. All right, hey Denise, thank you for having me.
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to seeing some of this stuff in action, and I hope everyone loved the advice, and I hope you can all get implement this and see some great results.
Okay, thank you, Derek, very much. Blog on.